All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BGE Cloud. It is Friday, and I am here with one of the people who I truly admire in this world. It's time for the Cousin Pageantry, and please welcome our guest, Miss Maureen Francisco. She is a state director, an author, a mother, a wife, entrepreneur, somebody who you just really should know. And we're going to really dive in and get to know Miss Maureen a little bit more. Everyone, please welcome Maureen. Hi, Maureen.
I'm so excited about your show. I mean, Amber, from watching you be one of our contestants, four-time Miss Congeniality winner for Washington, and now being part of our production team where you are the main choreographer, you're in charge of the local contestants, and now you have this platform. It's been such an honor watching you transition in the different stages of pageantry. So I'm so excited to be on your show.
I am so excited to have you with me and just want to just give you your flowers out the gate. I just appreciate being a part of the team and, the family that you've built in Pageants Northwest has really just seen me through so much in the past decade plus. So it's been one of the constants in my life, and I'm just so thankful to be connected to you, and I just see so much light around you and always kind of want to be at your right hand. So I'm very thankful to have you on my show.
Thank you. And what people don't know, we are truly a family because Amber's mother is part of the team, and so is her significant other. Like we really, once we find somebody who's solid, we recruit the entire family to be part of the team. So when you hear Pageants Northwest family, it's actually really true. It is a family. It's multiple families together putting on amazing shows and transforming the lives of these contestants.
Yes, like I jokingly, like when I was a contestant, and if you guys didn't catch that, that is how I met Miss Maureen many moons ago when I was a contestant for Miss Washington USA, which was my first pageant. I was introduced to Maureen and I used to jokingly tell her and David, I used to be like, so you guys are going to adopt me, right? Like, no matter how this goes, I'm going to be adopted. And I've been.
Yes.
So
And you've
Maureen,
been with us ever since.
yes, absolutely, and I plan to stay. So do with that information what you will. But Maureen, I want to ask, you know, you have had an extraordinary career in media. So, did your career in media start, or was it pageantry? Like, how were you introduced into the pageant world?
I am Filipino, and as a Filipino, we love pageants. And I remember my mom telling me I was in her womb when she was watching Miss Universe. I had no idea that pageantry would also be one of my careers. So when we moved here to America, I could barely speak a word of English. And I remember watching the news and Oprah, and I would practice saying the words out loud of what they would say. I would able to practice my English. When we moved here from the Philippines to America, my family did not want me to fall behind in school. So they would implement an English only rule so I can learn how to speak the language. And when I went into high school, I really wanted to work on my confidence. I wanted to be much more comfortable speaking in front of people. So I joined a pageant. I think I was 17 or 18. It was my one and only pageant. And I remember being the shortest contestant. And I want to tell somebody who's watching this, height does not matter. It's all about confidence. So I did that pageant. Unbeknownst to me, I made it in the top 5 and I won the best volunteer award. I did a lot for my community, did a lot of volunteer service, volunteered at the hospital and various other organizations. And I remember during that journey, a newspaper reporter was writing down and telling my story. And I thought, wow, I want to do that for a living. So after college, I graduated with a print broadcast journalism and a minor in English. I worked all over the country as a news anchor, news reporter, or as a producer. So I worked from Yakima, Washington, Savannah, Georgia, Flint, Michigan, and then made my way to Seattle. Now, how I got into pageantry, into Pageants Northwest and Northwest Productions, one of my producer's husband reached out to me through social media and said, would you mind taking out this young woman for coffee and explaining to her, how do you get in the business? How do you get into broadcast journalism? So I took her out for coffee, explained to her about working in small markets and just really working hard. You might not get the holidays off. You might not have the best hours, but you just want to really learn your craft. And I remember her flipping and asking me a question of what she can do to help me. And I said, oh, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book about successful immigrants or those who came from humble beginnings. And that's when she said, I want you to meet my state director, David Van Maren. So I met David and I interviewed him for my book, It Takes Moxie, the foreword written by the former White House doctor to 3 US presidents. And I was so fascinated with David's story because David lived in an orphanage up until the age of 5. He was transferred from one orphanage to another. And every time he was transferred to a different orphanage, his name would change and his birth date would change. And fast forward many, many years later, here he is speaking to these contestants and telling them, don't let your past dictate your future.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about your identity because look at him. His name would change and his birth date would change. And he didn't let that be his identity. His identity is what's in your heart, what's in your mind. Who do you surround yourself with? And how do you pour and bless other people? And I was, again, just so fascinated by his wisdom. And unbeknownst to me, I would eventually marry him. And I did not know Amber. So when you talk to Junior, your significant other, you have to spell it all out, what this is marriage, what is it going to look like. I didn't know I'd be working full time with him. And I tease them. I go, you got a wife and you got a full-time worker
Well,
in this
and
marriage. Yes.
that's so incredible. And you know what? As as a former contestant, that would be one of the moments that I would look forward to. So at the beginning of the pageant weekend, coming in and going through orientation, and then David has something so special about when he shares his story that in thinking about coming back, what no matter what the outcome is, I love your portion. You always tell us there can only be one, and to find something greater in the weekend and to enjoy it in short. And David coming up and just kind of also reiterating that and then telling us kind of what to expect and then sharing that little piece of himself. It's always been so inspirational to me, from a contestant's point of view, because you do get that, if they can, I can scenario. And in our house, we have a thing anytime, because you guys, if you ever meet David, you will learn that that man does not waste food. We don't waste food. And that is another portion of his story as to why. So anytime like we're being wasteful, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna call David because y'all got a lot of food on that plate, or I know you're not about to throw that away. I'm gonna call David. So that is a running thing in our household. So anytime I'm having family dinner with I almost said my spouse. I do that all the time with my significant other, with my mom and Mr. Billy. That's something that comes up. I'll be like, "Are you going to finish that, or are you going to eat it later?" Because I'll call. It's only a call away, okay? But it's just kind of that ongoing ripple effect, and I think that kind of story is so important to be told. And I thank both of you guys for always being so vulnerable, because I mean, not everybody would be able to share on the platform that you both do.
Yes. And he wants to tell people there's no shame. And sometimes people get embarrassed about their past because they came from humble beginnings, or, in David's situation, when he lived in an orphanage, there was very little food. He would sometimes have to look for food on the ground, right? Or whatever he could find just to survive. And he wants to tell women who go through our program, do not be ashamed of your past. It's part of your story. Turn your mess into a powerful message. So again, that's how I fell in love with him, was his just words of wisdom. And he really puts things into perspective. Like when you are having a bad day, it's hard to have a bad day around David. It really is. I mean, the guy never hardly ever has a bad day. Like when I'm living with him, I'm just like, can you just have a bad day? Can we just have one bad day?
Just
No,
one.
no, he just, that's not in his vocabulary. It's all about attitude. And I think it's because of what he had to endure. He puts everything in perspective. He's like, Maureen, we have a roof over our head. We have a warm house. We have food. We have water. We're living the dream. So again, it's all about perspective.
And I'll definitely double down on that for everybody listening. Currently I'm working in residential property management, and in this year has been really trying, and I've seen a lot of my residents' mental health deteriorate. But another thing that I've seen, even as recently as this week that we're recording, uh, just yesterday, one of my residents' wives passed away. And I went to the lobby to find him, just kind of in shock. And then he explained, he was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He broke down. I don't know what I'm going to do. And it put that same kind of mirror in front of me, like, is the world crashing down, or am I having a bad moment and I just need to shift my focus or my attitude? I've not lost my partner in life. I have a roof over my head, clothes on my back, shoes on my feet, food on my table, and I get to go home to someone tonight. And I'm not saying that it should always be that kind of direct comparison, but a lot of times that jolt, that shock, kind of brings you back into kind of seeing the light that maybe it's not that bad.
Yes, again. And that's why we have you as the head of the choreography team, Amber, is because you're a light to so many of these women. I mean, four-time Miss Congeniality recipient voted on by your peers. That speaks volumes of your character. And we, when we were putting our team in place, we're like, Amber is great. She can pour into these women. And again, it's all about perspective. So um, our contestants can learn just a lot from you going through the program, and here you are leading them. And what's great about Amber, she's calm. And if you are, part of the production team, there's chaos. There's always chaos. Even though you can plan as much as you want, chaos happens, and she is calm. Like sometimes I have a face during pageant weekend, I'm focused. I'm like thinking of 10 things at once. And when I see Amber, I'm like, she has it covered. I don't have to worry. And she's so calm. Like, wow, that is a gift, because if you put somebody else in that position, they're not going to be able to handle the pressure. You're
And
dealing with very different personalities.
not consecutively, like, I do have a calm demeanor, like, in general, and when the pressure's on, I just kind of, I sink in that. um and that happens. You have these girls who've worked for months, if not years at a time, toward this goal, toward gaining this opportunity, and then, any zipper breaks, the sarong falls off as they're walking, they lose an earring, and it's just so much stress on them, and that energy, it's so transferable. So my strategy going into any pageant weekend is just kind of like, okay, well, I know a myriad of these things can happen. So if energy is transferable, just as their nervous stress energy is transferable, so can my calm, happy energy. So that's kind of, I that's why I named my podcast Big Goddess Energy. I live in that. That's my day to day. And it's a gift that I try to pass on to these young ladies. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, in your career, um, from media to pageants, what's something that you consistently kind of see that is it, that je ne sais quoi, like when you come across a person that you're interested in interviewing, or a story that you want to tell, or even a contestant, what's something that you notice that's a consistent thread between these kinds of people?
I look for authenticity and energy. Each person is so unique. And if you can tap into that person more and more and not have a facade or think, what would the public want me to be? If you can tap into who you really are, that's when the real confidence come out. And I also feel energy. Like when people have amazing energy, I want to talk to them. Like nobody wants to talk to somebody who has a darkness around them, right? It's like I don't want any negativity. The world is negative already. I want to be drawn to those who have a light, who can give me wisdom. Like Amber, when I talk to you, when I'm around you, you give me wisdom, you give me great energy, and you are tapping into your most authentic self. There's something very attractive when somebody knows who or she is and they're unapologetic about his or her personality. There's just something so attractive about that. And it's somebody who has worked on himself or herself a lot. It's about reflection, it's about self awareness. And when I'm not in front of the spotlight or being interviewed, I'm really leaning in on who I am. Like what are my beliefs? What do I stand for? Because in life, sometimes you don't want to attract chaos or you don't want to attract disruption, but something's going to happen
Mhm.
and you will need to lean on your confidence of your beliefs to get you through the dark times, to get you through the seasons of life, because sometimes life you're up and sometimes you're down. So you got to learn how to navigate. And honestly, the past couple of months have been challenging because it's the first time I'm in a position where I'm waiting on someone to give me the green light. And just to give you some backstory for those watching this, it's the first time in 21 years pageants, all USA state pageants have been put on pause. And our pageant, we were just less than 2 weeks away. We just finished our meeting with all of the contestants. Amber was at that meeting, our producer, Lisa Pierce, and we were walking the contestants through what the Washington pageant was going to look like. We envisioned it. And then all of a sudden, again, less than 2 weeks later, everything is put on pause. I already stuffed the swag bags. We already have the trophies. We already have the program magazine. And that is heartbreaking when you've been working on it for months. I've been working on it since November of 2022. And I contact our team and say, are you available this weekend? And Amber knows this. Once I say a date, I put my head down and we charge and we stay focused. So for that to happen, it really rocked my boat. I was like, what? So I really had to lean in on my faith. I had to lean in and listen to God a lot and say, God, you know, I know you would not let this happen if it didn't serve a greater purpose. And that's what happens with me is when things get tough in life, and again, life is hard, right? I have
Yes.
to lean in on something bigger than me, and that is my faith. And one of the things that gets me through challenging times, I tell myself my audience is one, and that is God, because that distracts and cuts away at all of the noise and the distractions. If I focus on my audience as God, I will make decisions that might not be popular, but it is what I know the audience of God would want me to do.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because, I mean, it's the ripple effect of this decision to postpone these pageants is just now being felt by other states. We got the brunt of it, head on right out the gate, and I don't think that the industry really understood how far. those ripples would go. Here we are, months, weeks removed from Miss Universe, months removed from Miss USA, um, and we still don't have state pageant dates. And I know there's a lot of pressure on you to produce answers as a director. Um, but I think I want to just make sure that everybody understands that there are levels to where these decisions are made, and I can guarantee that the idea to postpone any state pageant was not made at the state level. Okay. I'm not pointing fingers, but
Yes.
that it does need to be made clear that no state director would purposefully alter the schedule, because it doesn't benefit them in any way. The potential to lose contestants, ticket sales, the actual venue. At this point, with no green light, it takes, if you're doing a shorthand, it can take a minimum of 3 months to plan a pageant, secure a space, a team, and get everybody on board. But nobody would shoot themselves in the foot that way, guys.
No, no, and you're right, Amber, we were the first ones, and now other pageants are feeling it, coaches are feeling it because they normally work with USA gals. Many of them do work with USA gals. So coaches are feeling it, gown sponsors are feeling it, fitness trainers. I mean, it's a ripple effect production. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yes, everybody's feeling it. And we're now January marks 6 months into the pause, and this has never happened in the history of the Miss Universe organization. But again, this is where I lean in on my faith and I say, God, you already know the outcome of all of this. So I'm just going to lean in and trust you. And that's what brings me peace.
Yeah, I think another thing is just you've created a space where you can be very transparent with your team and your contestants, and I think that goes a long way. Not a lot, and I've dabbled in my fair share of pageants. Not a lot of directors have that way of communicating. So I think that's kind of something that's good for us. Um, just being honest and being like, I don't know. Like, I think some people have tried to kind of buffer by saying, oh no, we're just going to do the pageant in January, and now here we are in January and they're having to come out with another statement that the pageant isn't going to happen. So it's a lot to shoulder, but again, your faith will always see you through. I am a prayer warrior. So, as soon as I hit any adversity, I get that internal prayer. And then, when I have a moment that I can step away and just be like, Lord, I'm leaving it at your feet. I don't know where you're pulling me or which direction, you want me to go, but right now I'm going to leave this at your feet, and I trust that whatever you have planned for me is greater than what I have planned for myself.
Amen to that. And thank you, Amber, for just being part of the team because I am all about transparency. Everybody has my cell phone number.
Mhm.
I respond fast to the contestants, the families, the sponsors, the team, right? I communicate everything what's going on. So we're always on the same page because that's how I would want to be treated. I would want, again, whoever I am working for, I would want always transparency. And my mentality is I serve you. I serve the production team. I serve the contestants. I serve the families. So when you have that mentality, you always feel like you have to be transparent because, again, I'm in a position of serving the pageant community.
Yes. And then you said the P word, you said parents. As a director, how is it interacting with pageant parents? Because I can tell you, as a former contestant and a choreographer now, sometimes I have to gently nudge our parents who aren't like platinum ticket holders, but I have to nudge our parents out of rehearsal gently and with love. How do you kind of navigate that space? Because everybody's sweet baby came to win.
Yes. So I'm a wrestling mom. My son wrestles. We're always at tournaments. It seems like every weekend now we're definitely into pageant season. I'm sorry, wrestling season. And I tell myself I'm not going to be a pageant mom, meaning I have to let my son lead this journey. So when he wrestles, I'm at the corner and I let the coaches do what they're supposed to do. And I just hit record on my cell phone. And then afterwards, whatever happens when we are on the car ride home or late at night in his room or my room, we talk about how the day goes and what he could do better. What can I do better? Like, am I supporting him, not supporting him? And I just want to reiterate with the parents, you have to let your daughters lead this journey. Otherwise, there's going to be frictions. So, and I know you want to do the very best by pushing them and like being in the know with the production team and everything. The best thing that you can do is just let them lead this journey, because even though one person walks away with the crown, this is a journey. This is about relationships. I still attend our local contestants or our state queens' weddings, baby showers, graduations. It's a relationship building process. So, again, as a parent, you just got to let them lead this journey. Our son, he trains about 4 to 5 days a week, and then he has wrestling on the weekends. And I remember last week he was like, "You know what? I need a day off." And we listened to him. The parent inside of me was saying, "Oh, you should be training because your opponents are training too."
Right.
But then I had to respect his body and his mind and said, "Hey, I need to take a day off." So we backed off and said, "Okay, we're going to take the day off." And he's only 8 years old. So it's that balance as a parent of how much to be a parent and also be his supporter and have him lead the way.
Now that is so crazy that your son is almost 8.
I
I,
know.
I remember you pregnant. So that
Yes,
is,
you remember the playpen? We would
oh,
bring the
me too.
playpen with us.
It blows my mind. And I want to kind of fork into something that you said about kind of listening. It's so important to know your child. I don't have children. I'm planning on having twins one day. But it's so important to know your child and be able to make that decision, because you know that your son is in no way a slacker or someone who cuts corners. He seems to me from the outside looking in as somebody who really enjoys his sport and, is excited to practice, is excited to rehearse. So I think that's another part, when it comes to pageant weekend, if you have concerns, it's really important that you know your child and you know that if something were to go awry or anything like that, that they would reach out to you, they would text you and just kind of let you know. I tell the girls, especially the teens, and the miss as well. But during pageant weekend, I'm like, y'all have it so good. Because my first 2 years, those phones got took. Okay.
Oh, yes, we took away the phones from them. Yes, we did.
I was like, those first 2 years, there were no phones. Okay, you had to call your parent from the hotel room, and they better have a local number. Okay, because yeah, y'all have it so easy. And then
Yeah.
another thing, like our parents, I don't think, I think early on, because we were all local, there wasn't the idea that our parents would stay at the same hotel or anything like that. I think that was something that kind of COVID pushed more so. But yeah, phones. When I see phones out of rehearsal, I'm like, y'all, you can Instagram after rehearsal. It's okay.
Amber, did you like it without the phones? Like, with that policy, like, as a contestant back then and now as a head of the choreography team?
I did. I think phones. So for me, I, as a four-time Miss Congeniality, for Miss Washington USA specifically, I think I've won Miss Congeniality 8 times in my pageant career. Uh, putting the phone away just really made it so that we had to converse, that we had to fellowship, that we had to actually talk to each other, especially for those who were there to build their confidence, to, try to make these connections. I felt like it benefited them more not having their phone because, they were put in that situation where they kind of had to interact with someone. Whereas now, when we have rehearsals, you do see somebody who's off in the corner and they're on their phone, which makes them seem unapproachable. So I think it's a little bit of a distraction pageant weekend for that aspect, for just trying to make those connections, especially you have to think about it. So many of the women are returners. So you already have that connection. You already have that group of girls. We have a group of first timers who don't really know the ropes, and you'll have a few that will kind of branch out from the group of returners to try to pull the others under their wing. We have girls from different industries, girls who model, girls who act, girls who play different kind of sports, who just don't really know where they fit in the pageant space. And it's kind of like they're all moving around each other, and but they're not really getting to know each other. So that's kind of a little thing about pageants now that hurts my heart. um, I think if there was a way to make it interactive, like one of the pageants that I went to some years ago, I think there was a scavenger hunt and you had to like team up with someone that you didn't know and you had to go on the scavenger hunt together. So that was kind of cool.
Yes. It's all about that interaction and that relationship building, because I know many of your friends are actually in the pageant space, people who
Hmm.
you competed with. So if you don't walk away with a friend from pageant weekend, then you didn't do this journey properly,
Yeah,
because
I
there's some
agree.
amazing people. Yes.
I agree because if you walk away with zero friends and zero connections, maybe you're not friends, but you share similar interests and you want to do something like a podcast or a fashion show or something. Like you should have made some kind of connection. In my mind, if done correctly, there is no way to leave pageant weekend empty-handed,
Yes.
whether it's an award, crown, connection. My best friend in the entire world, I met at a national pageant. I didn't know anybody there. I went to Florida by myself to attend this pageant, and I met her in the lobby, and we greeted each other. We exchanged some words, and then by the end of the week, she was like, "You're going to be in my wedding," and I was like, "You're going to be in my wedding. This is great." So I talked to her just yesterday.
Oh,
So
I love that.
yeah.
And speaking of wedding, we've been talking about Amber's wedding for a while, and Junior doesn't know all the plans, right?
So I've been sending him rings. Uh, I'm into like that the trois et moi style. So the ones with like two center stones. So
Yes.
I've been updating my style profile with him as to which ring I like. And then yeah, he and I, we talk about this wedding. I'm doing air quotes for those who are listening audio only. We talk about the wedding, but we are not engaged. But it's gonna happen, and I'm very excited for the next stage for us.
Yes,
But ladies, if that man does not support your pageant dreams, leave him like
I
yesterday.
agree. I agree because I watch Junior like dote on you, and he listens to Amber. Sweetheart, can you get this? And they're still in that lovey-dovey stage. Just they say these nice words, hun, and
Honey,
uh, and he listens to you. Like he knows you're the boss babe that weekend, and he just listens, and he's so respectful, and he follows your instructions. I mean, it's really beautiful to watch.
and it's so funny because he'll come by and he'll be like, "Did you eat?" And I'll be like, "No, I'm getting the trophies ready or whatever." And he'll be like, "Okay, listen, you need to eat. You need to take care of yourself." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'll eat later." And then the next thing I know, he's like bringing me something, and I'm like, "Okay, okay, I get it. I get it. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to eat." So he definitely takes care of me in a way that I don't take care of myself, pageant pageant weekend. Um, and it's very interesting because he had never been to a pageant before we met, and before I asked him to be on the production team with me. And then I think his first pageant, he was working the camera. So like, so you kind of get in where you fit in. But it's been a real joy because, and I say this a lot. I think I've shared with you, I was in a 5-year relationship, and actively competing in pageants in that time. And I think that person may have come to one or two pageants, where when I met Junior, I knew that pageants were such a big, important part of my life that it would be something that he would either need to support or be at. It would take a lot of time for me. And I decided, and I told him about it really, really early on. I was like, this is important to me. This opportunity to be a mentor, this opportunity to produce in a space that I love is very important to me. And, I'd like to know if this is something that you can support. So I think we had
Mm.
only been together for 6 months when I introduced I introduced him to you. We hadn't been together for a year, and he got really put through the ringer because we had 3 pageants to produce. I competed in a state pageant, and then was prepping for nationals, all within the span of that first year that we were together. So ladies, I'm going to tell you right now, okay, if that man does not support you in whatever you're doing and it's truly what has your heart, please hold out,
Yeah.
because there is somebody out there who will support you and who will just really be, kind of the missing piece. And you deserve every bit of that love and support. So do remember that.
And who will treat you like a queen because I see Junior treating you very well.
Oh, yeah, because I waited on this man and I prayed for him too. So I'm I'm so excited to see what the future holds for us. And you know, the day I told him, I was like, when you're ready to propose, call Maureen, okay?
Yes.
And, and he was like, I don't know. He was like, would she be okay if I called her? And I was like, yes, okay, do
Absolutely.
it.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Now we've talked about pageants, but that is not the only thing that you produce. You produce a one of a kind award show called the Global Beauty Awards, which is like the Grammys or the ESPYS for people in the pageant and beauty industry. So where did that idea come from? And let's chat about that for a little bit.
I remember it so vividly. David and I were on our way to a basketball game. Washington State does not have a professional basketball team, so we were driving to Portland to watch the Portland Trailblazers. And I remember going online and going, David, is there an award show where peers would vote and submit nomination with other team members and colleagues? And I couldn't find anything online that was very transparent, where it resembled the Emmys, because we are members of the regional Emmys. And with the regional Emmys requires membership. You actually will vote on the submissions when it comes to television, and specifically television news. So what I did was I emulated exactly what my experience with the Emmys, and I did that with the pageant community, where we have actually advisory board members. One of our advisory board members is Miss Oregon USA Denise White, former Miss Oregon USA Denise White, who sold her story rights to Netflix and Jennifer Aniston. There's going to be a movie or a show made about her life. She grew up in the foster care system, competed in Miss Oregon USA, won Miss Congeniality like yourself, Amber, and also won Miss Congeniality at the national level, and most recently served as a judge at Miss Universe. So she's part of our advisory board. We have the producer of ABC, who works on Good Morning America and ABC News. So we have all of these various advisory board members. We also have VIP voting members, and there's a $99 annual subscription that renews each year. And the voting members get to submit up to 5 nominations, and they're part of the voting team. So next month, our team is going to send a Dropbox links with hundreds of submissions, and then the VIP voting members select who they want to win in each category. The only category that the voting team does not have a say is People's Choice, because that's voted on by the public, and also Lifetime Achievement, and that's decided by the advisory board team. And our 7th annual Global Beauty Awards Lifetime Achievement recipient is the founder, the co-founder, and former CEO of WWE. She is a boss babe. Wow. Like what she's done, she discovered The Rock. She sold the company to Endeavor, which increased the valuation of the UFC and WWE, because they're going to be part of the Endeavor fighting group, I like to say, to
Mm.
I think $21 billion. Like, wow. And one thing, again, amazing about this woman, Linda McMahon, she is also heavily involved in pageants, where some of her wrestlers actually were part of the pageant community, her WWE wrestlers. Her business partner was a former executive of the Miss America Outstanding Teen program. She sold her company to Endeavor, which used to own the Miss Universe. And one thing that I'm so excited when people finally meet her, she has this leadership quality about customer care. It is so like family, friends, customer care. And I remember when I first interacted with her, I was like, wow, I need to make sure I create that experience. She's very busy, but she just made me feel so special. And I was thinking, our team needs to do the exact same thing with every contestant that graduates from our program, every family member. And again, it always starts at the top, right? Leadership starts at the top. So I'm excited to bring her to Washington State and just like learn from her. Everybody's going to learn so much from her.
I am definitely excited. I saw the news for the Lifetime Achievement Award online, and I am somebody who definitely grew up watching wrestling. I am forever a Stone Cold Steve Austin Texas Rattlesnake stan. Especially being from Texas, that's my one. And I just remember the wrestler China.
Oh,
At the time, she was such an impeccable force and one of the only like formidable women wrestlers in that arena, in that space. And I loved her. It was kind of like, as far as like TV and visuals went, it was like her, Xena, and Storm for X-Men were like my super babe. And and just seeing people like that come up through the ranks in the wrestling world was inspiring to me. I had no desire to wrestle or fight, but just seeing a woman do it was enough. So I never knew that they had that kind of female leadership on their team. So that is amazing to me, and I hope that I have the opportunity to meet her because she's great.
no, we'll definitely meet her. And again, I also grew up watching WWE. I was a Hulk Hogan fan. Hulk Hogan.
Oh,
Um, and I used to think it was real. I just remember going, oh my gosh, they're beating each other up, and it took me a long time to realize it's fake, but the acting, the athleticism, it's so good. And if you ever get an opportunity to watch a live WWE, it is pageants on steroids by the 10th.
I
Like,
believe it.
wow, the lights, the fireworks, the energy, and what Linda created, and I was telling her this, you see all race, you see men and women, nationalities, different languages, different economic backgrounds. She created a culture of like family and entertainment. And I was just in awe because when I go to a show, I don't just watch the show, I look at the entire audience, the culture, everything. And I go, what can I learn from this moment? And how can I bring back what I really like to the pageant experience? And and she created such an amazing culture. Like, wow. And we did it too, Amber, with our pageants. I mean, look at the diversity, right? Like
Yeah.
diversity and inclusion, since you competed to now,
Yes.
totally different.
Yeah. As a contestant of color, it was hard sometimes, justifying showing up, because I'm not only a black contestant, but I'm a curvy contestant. And so having both of those things and then getting to a space where you don't really see anybody that look like you is, it's kind of hard to let your guard down. For other people, not me. I'm going to be me no matter who I'm in the room with, but I can see how it would be difficult for others. And I think my first and second pageant, I think there were probably only three black contestants each year. And I might be off by one or two, but I think that's pretty accurate. And then even in my last couple years, I saw a little bit more, but I'm seeing more nationally, seeing more people who look like me internationally. And I think that it's always going to be like that the more and more and more. I mean, look at even the plus size representation with Miss Nepal at Miss Universe. So, she was the only woman there in that type of body. So I only imagine how she would have felt, trying to navigate things. And then I know that a lot of fittings happen at Miss Universe, and that if you aren't mentally prepared, that can be something that just tears you down, because you can't, like, a lot of times they're not prepared for you. And that's coming from my modeling experience, showing up to a shoot and they not have like your size exact, or they want to put you in a potato sack that just doesn't do anything for your body. It's tough. It's tough. Going to shoots and having to bring your own foundation is tough. And those are adjustments that, as a professional, those are things that you learn to deal with, but it doesn't necessarily make it okay. So I'm definitely excited to see where pageantry is going and the changes that are being made, and the levels of acceptance that are happening across the multitude of systems out there. I have some concerns, like I don't want to see a plus size woman won just to say a plus size woman won. You know, I don't ever want that box to just get checked and then we have to wait another 20 years, 30, 40, 60 years to see another diverse woman win. If a plus size woman is the best on the stage, then she deserves the crown. If she underperforms, she doesn't deserve recognition just because she showed up. That's not how this works. And I'm not saying that about Nepal. I thought she slayed, for the record, but I just don't want it to become, oh, look at us, we crowned a plus size girl. Let's get our numbers up. Let's see more. I don't want that.
Well, for Miss Oregon, Manju Bangalore, right? Very curvy, and she
Very
owns her
true.
body. Yes,
And
owns
she's
her body,
mhm,
confident.
stunning and so accomplished. Like that girl, she's going to space, y'all. If she ain't been already, she's going.
She's going. And again, we don't, with our particular pageant, we don't talk about measurements at all, actually. We say who owns her body and rocks that confidence. That's what the instructions we give to the judges. It's not even about measurements because we don't care about measurements. We want confidence.
With the changes that you're seeing, like, so when married women can compete, the age limit gone, women with children can compete. How do you feel about that? Are you excited just to see kind of where this takes pageantry? Because the big question has been, are pageants still relevant? Do you think this
Yes,
builds relevancy?
pageants are still relevant because you still need to work on that public speaking skills, the package, the presentation, the confidence that's going to equate into the corporate world, into life. And I've been pushing to increase the age limit, if I'm being frank with you. When a couple of years ago, when the age limit did increase by 1 year, that was me at the directors meeting pushing that, because in the Northwest, the average age of a person competing in her first pageant was 25. And then the age limit was 26. So that person only had 1 year. They were one and done. Most women, they don't start things until later on in life, right? We're
Right.
not from the South where as soon as you start walking, your mom will put you in a pageant. It's not like that. I find that with our contestants, most of them think about it, but it wasn't in the right season. And for some reason, when they graduate from college and they have a career, they're now ready to invest in themselves. So I'm actually for removing the age limit, because I'm somebody who's going to be 50 in a couple of years. And if somebody told me, Maureen, you have to have everything figured out by 30, that's heartbreaking, because I'm actually really leaning into who I am and my confidence. I always talk about leaning in who you really are the older that I get. So I think that the age limit now removes the pressure on women to get married at a certain age, to have a career at a certain age, to be a mother at a certain age, or to do certain things at a certain age. I think it removes that and say, enjoy this journey and just be the best you. Who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated? Martha
Oh,
Stewart.
Martha
50
Stewart.
years
Yes, she
old.
did.
Yes, yes. Who performs at the Super Bowl? Jennifer Lopez. And when Jennifer Lopez performs, people don't talk about her talent. They talk about her age. They're like,
Mhm.
wow, look at, for a woman of that age who looks like that and who can still perform like that. It's the age. So, yes, I'm actually all for removing the age limit.
I support it. I think, especially being somebody who I thought I was going to be a one and done competitor in the pageant space. Um, and just kind of thinking about those, like you said, whose situation just doesn't support them being able to give back to themselves by this opportunity. And just thinking about all those people and people who I come across who they're like, "Oh, you've competed in a pageant, how was that? How was your experience? Oh, I would love to do that. I wish I could." I think it's amazing, and being able to attach something, an opportunity like that to Miss USA, the Miss USA system, is incredible, because there are systems out there that have, supported women in different age groups, which I think is incredible. And, I don't want to negate that it has been done, but the name Miss USA is always going to hold weight, like as a title. Miss USA, Miss Universe, and here in the United States, Miss America will be kind of the first ones that people who don't compete in pageants here in the states are going to acknowledge. So I think them making this move is huge, and I support it. And if I didn't love my job as choreographer, I would come back.
I've been worried, to be honest with you. I was like, oh my gosh, Amber's one day gonna tell me, hey, I want to take some time off because I want to be on that stage competing. And when that time does come, Amber, just let me know, because it's gonna be so hard to find somebody who can fill your spot.
I'd have to get residency in a different state. I couldn't compete here. I know that over across the board I'd have to leave my job, but I truly love what we do for these women, and I think for Miss USA in particular, my service backstage is more important than me being on
Mm,
stage. So I don't plan
yes.
on, I don't know what God has for me, but I don't plan on making that dive. But when the news first broke, I was like, mm.
Mm.
And then I was like, nah, like no, I couldn't do that. And I don't think the optics would be that good either. Like, especially if I came out and did something. I,
Well,
that would be
Amber, you're
awkward.
a competitor. You're definitely a competitor. So
Oh, I love pageants, and I'll compete for as long as it makes sense elsewhere. But yes, I do fully love Miss USA, and the opportunity is presented to me because even when I wasn't competing, I loved seeing your name pop up in my email box. In my email. Like, if you're not busy, like, do you think, is this
Oh
something you're
yes,
interested in? And that's another thing, ladies, when you come out and you participate, and I can only speak for Pageants Northwest at this point, but when you come out and you participate with Pageants Northwest, you have to understand that if you are somebody who is seeking opportunity through the system, it will find you. Because I think I wasn't competing, and I think the Netflix situation came up, and you still called, and I so appreciate just the thought. Um, and that's my truth. So, ladies, there's more
yes.
than just on stage opportunities here.
And you also have to show up. I mean, like Amber shows up. She showed up as a contestant. She shows up as a member of the team. She shows up like she has character integrity. She's professional. She knows how to handle very stressful situations. So I like to tell people whatever you're doing, just show up because it's actually a job interview for your next position.
Yeah, and even doing this, I think hosting this podcast, a lot of that confidence comes from the experience that I have prepping for pageants and being across from the interviewing. Even my first pageant, unbeknownst, my cousin was a judge. Like, I had never met this person, and just finding that out and still trying to maintain some decorum, because again, that could have been something where you have a contestant that leaves the interview room and they want an argument. Nobody could have known. I didn't know. I didn't know. So it's just funny. It's all about how you handle things, how you present yourself and your brand. And if you don't have a brand, you have to understand that you yourself are your brand.
Yes.
So if you're trying to book and build things, everything about you has to support what it is that you're selling.
Yes. Yeah.
That's kind of why I've built my platform the way that I have, and just so excited to be able to continue to invest time and just bring in as many people who I love and cherish, and just see this thing grow and blow up, because we're not stopping at a podcast. Eventually we are going to be a prom and pageant store, and I'm so excited about that too. So just keep dreaming
Oh,
big, folks.
oh yes, Amber. I'm excited when that time comes. So very excited
Oh,
for you.
I was looking at commercial spaces. Another thing, y'all, don't let these price tags get you down. I was looking at I was looking at commercial spaces, and they are climbing back up. You know, even outside of Seattle, the cost of a commercial space is climbing, and I was kind of shocked by that, given how many businesses have closed and not been able to come back since COVID. So budget smartly, and don't let these price tags scare you. Something will come, and it'll be exactly what you need to kind of secure the bag. So when you
Yeah.
are, going through life, Maureen, finances, how do you kind of like juggle that and keep your dreams alive? Because producing the Global Beauty Awards is not a small feat, and the state pageants also, it's not. How do you
Not
do that?
no. So I have a relationship with finance where I look and say, how's my health? If my health is good, then my finance will be good. Because if your health is not good, that means medical bills, right? That means medicine and so on. So if I'm good mentally, physically, emotionally, then my finance will be okay. And I just, again, I'm such a believer that just everything will work itself out. And one of my advice that I tell people is make sure you diversify your portfolio. So if you love pageants and you want to become a state director, don't only just do that. So we have the pageants, we have the award show, I do consulting, and then I pitch docu-series as well. So that's not what a lot of people know is I think of an idea, I pitch it, I package it, and we sell it. And we have a show that we've been working on now for 2 years. We've been in discussion with Lifetime for 2 years, and we're almost there to cross the finish line. And when we cross that finish line, I'm going to be so happy because that's been 2 years in the making. So, again, my recommendation is truly diversify your portfolio because look at what happened. The pageant paused, right? So, I was able to rely on other revenue streams to keep things afloat.
I think that's so important, and that's something that I've learned. And as a creative person, it's hard to try to be like, oh, well, this is what I'm going to do for the next 40 to 60 years, and I'm going to be happy doing that. And I found such a great release when I am volunteering and when I am helping with the pageants that I'm like, what can I do to where this can become income for me? And that's another thing people need to consider. I think I heard an audio recently that basically said you need to figure out how to make income from doing the thing that you would do for free.
Yeah.
So if you love to bake and you would bake for free, you need to figure out how to monetize that. So it's been exciting just dreaming up all these things, and I've come to you for your opinion, and my mom is my best friend, so we talk a lot. And of course, Junior, my partner, just trying to figure out what's going to be best. But also there's that space where faith comes in, and it's not just when you're riding the wave and everything is coming together, but in that space where you're going to be uncomfortable. Like you've had the pageants on pause. I'm, considering a work change. And that is so scary. It is terrifying because, I'm a gal. I like my security. I have an expensive habit that is pageants. And, it's hard to think that, I would be stepping away from a consistent income and going to something a little bit more uncertain. So you got
Yeah.
to multiple revenue streams, folks.
Yes, it is scary. I mean, being out on your own without, again, that steady income. And I just want to applaud you, Amber, that you're going to take that leap of faith. Basically, you're betting on yourself,
Hmm.
and for me, watching what you've done, you're going to do just fine because you're great about relationships. You're great about um, you're not just jumping into this without doing your homework. So you really put a lot of thought into this. And being an entrepreneur, a lot of people don't know this. I know of entrepreneurs who still have their day job is because you need revenue to fuel that other business, right? You've heard the saying, takes money to make money. It's very, very true. So I do know entrepreneurs who do have their day jobs. I actually know many state directors who also have another revenue stream, whether it's a full-time job or another business venture, is because the business, you have to forecast a year or 2 years in advance. And what COVID really shown us is you need to be able to be adaptable and you need to diversify. And
Yeah.
I remember during that whole COVID time, I had no idea we were going to go into the pathogen space of selling spray that kills most diseases. I had no idea I was going to be into that space, but at that time, that's what we needed to do to, again, sustain the business.
Yeah, I think, just kind of listening to that inner voice and trusting that everything is going to work out just the way that it's supposed to be.
Yes,
Um, but also you got to play it smart. So
yes,
save, try to get you a little rainy day fund,
yep,
something, and just look at your situation realistically. Faith is a very, very powerful thing, but faith without work is dead. And so, you have to put something in there in order for there to be something to pull from later. So just take that how you want it, peeps. Another thing, I want to ask you about how you deal with pageant scandal. There is always a pageant scandal, and it's not limited just to Miss USA. Something happens every year. We just came off of a big, big scandal with the R word, the dreaded R word, rigging, which we don't do. But we had rigging scandal. We've had other issues that have caused title holders to have their crowns taken away. A lot of times, more often than not, we up here in the Pacific Northwest, we just mind our business, and and those things happen elsewhere. But I would assume that as a director, you're often asked about these things and what you're doing to attempt to avoid a situation.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that? How do you handle that pressure to be like everything's fine?
So again, I'm all about transparency. So if a scandal is happening, let's say a scandal is happening within the organization, not necessarily Pageants Northwest. I want to make sure if I ever talk about it, I have my facts. I don't talk about rumors. I don't talk about assumptions. I need to talk based on facts. And that's where my journalism background comes. So, again, if there's a scandal within the organization, not necessarily Pageants Northwest, I will only speak about it if I have the facts. Now, if there's something that happened within Pageants Northwest, I'm going to be transparent and walk people through what's going on. I remember a couple of years ago, there were some contestants challenging somebody's residency, and it made it on Good Morning America, Inside Edition. At that time, in order to compete in a specific state pageant, you had to provide two proof of residency.
I
We
remember
asked
that.
this particular, remember that? We asked this particular contestant to give us three pieces. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted three pieces, and this person did. This person showed up and provided three legitimate documents. So there was nothing more that I could do, right? This person ended up winning, did very well at Miss USA, made the semifinals. But again, we did our due diligence and our homework. We didn't ask for two, which was required at that time. We asked for three, and that person won fair and square. So again, I talked to the media and said, hey, this person did provide documents. Miss Universe organization didn't comment because they saw the documents and they're like, whoa, you guys actually gave more than what was required, is because we want to do things always above board. We want to do above board, and we have a transparency policy where if there's an issue, talk about that issue before the pageant rather than after the fact. Each of the contestants has my cell phone.
Yeah, I think again, having that direct line to you is helpful. Um, I feel like I just am in my own little world because a lot of times when there's a pageant scandal, I don't know about it. Even if it's something little, I think so and so tore my dress, or somebody stole my earrings. Like, even if it's something that tiny, I could be so far removed from the pageant. It could be weeks later before I get like a text or something that's like, "Oh my gosh, did you hear about this?" And I'll be like, "Oh no, what state did that happen in?" And they'll be like, "Yours." I'm like, not in my pageant," and it's just like that whole situation when it comes to drama. And again, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I'm so outside of it. Like, somebody really has to sit me down and be like, "Amber, this happened," and I'll be like, "You're making it up. I was there
I
all weekend. It never happened." So,
have good intentions of doing the show. In fact, we have Zoom meeting with all the contestants to walk them through what the weekend looks like. We even reveal scores. We tell our judges, what are you looking for? And we play that during pageant weekend. I'm thinking, how much more transparent can you be? Like, we're really giving all of the feedback that the contestants want. We're actually following through and doing it.
Yeah. And I'm a witness, guys. I promise. You can trust me.
Yeah.
Well, before I let you go, Maureen, something I like to ask all of my guests is what is it that you do to tap into your big goddess energy? Are you a spa person? Do you journal? What do you do to maintain?
I love to exercise. And when I say I love to exercise, I don't mean like I wake up in the morning and just smiling and ready to work out. No, I love the fact that I can still move my body. And it's really healthy. Like if you're ever going through depression or you're in a funk, just move your body, because when you have movement, then you start dreaming. And when I'm at the gym or even on a treadmill, I'm dreaming, I'm having conversations with God, I'm planning, I'm thinking, what can I do to be a better business person, a better friend, a better mother, a better wife. There's so many conversations I consistently have with myself. When I'm in my car, I'm having conversations. So that's how I tap into my big goddess energy.
Oh, that's lovely. And I love a girl who loves to work out because me and my
I
Peloton are
know
like
you.
this.
Yes. Every morning, if I want to get motivated, I look at Amber. Here she is at 4 or 5 in the morning doing this. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, I love my bike so much. And Peloton has a row machine. And once we rearrange the house, if there's room for it, that's what I want. I want the Peloton row machine, full body. Like I there's nothing like just for me working out first thing in the morning before I'm on my phone, anything. I put my feet on the ground, I thank the big man upstairs, and then I get on my bike. And it's kind of the best way to just kind of clear any energy that may be lingering from the previous day and just getting me right to go into my next day. And I'm a car prayer. I love to pray in the car. That is if I'm not in concert, because I also love to sing in the car. So those are all things that just resonate with me. So I love that. I'm so glad you give yourself that time. And is there two things? Is there anything else you want the folks to know? And please tell us where we can follow you on all your adventures going forward.
So the my parting wisdom is, um, your attitude is a choice. It really, really is when you think about it. And there's some days I want to be mad or happy or joy or angry, and I tell myself, okay, what attitude do I want at this very moment? And then, secondly, you can find me on my Instagram, Maureen M. Francisco, or at the GBA's official. Those are great social media platforms, or at Pageants Northwest. And thank you, Amber. This has been therapeutic. I feel so centered, and I'm just ready to end my month strong. So thank you.
Beautiful. Yay. Thank you so much for joining me. And you said, you check your attitude. Do you listen to a lot of hip hop?
I listen to pop music a lot.
Okay. So Ice Cube has a song. It's old. It's from the 90s. And it's called Check Yourself. Okay.
Oh, yourself. I've
Yeah.
heard of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a little aggressive, you know, but, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Oh,
That's
I've heard that. Yes.
Yes, that's the line. That's from the song. So, go ahead, get your little ice cube, just throw it in the mix, and it'll just kind of make that drive feel a lot better. Something you can really bop your head to. But again, thank you so much, and I truly appreciate your time, everybody. This has been the Plus in Pageantry on the BGE Cloud. Thank you for joining us. Bye.